Welcome to Resilience plus Rise, the podcast where resilience is not just a concept, but a lived experience. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria, a resilience coach, a ultra marathoner, and a relentless believer in the human spirit's ability to rise. This podcast is a companion to my book, Resilience plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Each episode is a raw, unfiltered dive into the stories of those who have faced life's hardest battles and emerged stronger. Today's guest, it's quite confusing whether I should say I'm honored, it's a privilege, it's amazing just to be in the same virtual space as him, but he is an enigma to be reckoned with. He is an enlightened teacher of higher consciousness and inner freedom. Vishrant. Yes, his name is Vishrant. As per the Hindi dialect, it is rest. But there might be something more about it, about the name. Vishrant is a contemporary mystic. As I mentioned, he's an enlightened teacher. He's from Perth, Western Australia. He has been in the space since 1999, and his purpose is to guide seekers of truth around the world through satsang. What is satsang for the my listeners out in North America and the other parts of the world? It will be told. Enlightenment intensive retreat and his writings on higher consciousness and self-realization. So with this, Vishrant, welcome to Resilience Plus Rise, the podcast.
It's lovely to be here.
Thank you. So Vishrant, let's start with one of the basic questions. Of course, I have read a little about you, but there's always that statement which says, the more I know is the less I know. There is so many different layers about you. But one thing which I know is that whenever I'm talking to my esteemed guest, people who have gone through resilience and what I just mentioned, people who have fought life's hardest battles, one of the statements which I believe in totality is our deepest of purpose comes from our deepest of wounds, or the brightest of light shines from the scar so deep it has got no option but to shine. This is taken from Rumi. So, Vishrant, how did you reach your purpose, or what was that wound which allowed you to re allow yourself to know who you are?
Yeah, it wasn't so much a wound as a realization that I lacked heart, that I
Hmm.
actually lacked love in my life. Not the love of another human being, but love itself. And I became very aware that the reason I lacked love in my life is because as a businessman, I'd become too armored.
Hmm.
And I was wearing this armor everywhere.
Okay.
And it stopped me from experiencing or perceiving love. And it first appeared to me when I experienced unconditional love while lost at sea with my partner. We were lost at sea for 18 hours. We're in the water for 18 hours, being circled by sharks. And at some point, I looked across at her because it was my idea to go out to sea. It was my idea to meet another boat out at sea. And I realized that I'd cost her life because I didn't think for a second we were going to survive. And I
Hmm.
looked across at her and I felt this immense regret that I'd cost her a life. And in that moment, love arose in me. And it was the most beautiful thing that I can I'd ever experienced. And I realized that that is what I was missing in my life. I'd been very successful as a businessman. I'd retired at the age of 28, but I didn't have love in my life. And I realized I was bankrupt, not financially, but of love. And that changed my whole direction of life. When we got rescued, I ended up going and doing a retreat in Italy for 6 months to find my heart. And eventually, I actually had to give my companies away, and I walked around Australia to find my heart because I couldn't. I was too armored. I was too programmed to be this hard-nosed businessman that never gave up on anything, and just I rose, but in the wrong way. I didn't rise in love. I rose in wealth. And I got to see that unless you have heart, no matter how much wealth you have, you are bankrupt. And I considered myself bankrupt. And so one day I walked into my companies and I gave my companies, including 14 offices of furniture, to my staff as a gift. And I walked out broke, took my shoes off and started walking around Australia, which I did for 4 years, looking for my heart. And I found it eventually. Eventually, I became humble enough because existence broke me to feel my own heart and to actually operate from heart instead of operating from this calculating businessman that saw the percentage in everything.
It goes back to what a lot of sages and mystics they talk about is that it's not outside, but the moment we start looking inside, and that's again what you have been propagating about the inner freedom.
Yeah, it's definitely about the inside. The outside is just tinsel on a Christmas tree.
Oh yeah, it is, as they say, like I say, it is that it's usually the symbols and the baggages that you carry around, and
Mm.
as you mentioned, the tear tinkles around. When you were walking around Australia seeking for something, what were the realizations that you came across? Because let's face it, it was the age of 28 wherein you had practically everything, and it went on for some more years. Now, to break away or to chip away that armor that you have been talking about, especially when the ego has made it so strong. How did that battle go on?
It was a battle
Yeah.
because I was so big in my own mind. You know, I was Ben Hur in my own mind, and I had to learn to become humble. And I gained humility from washing people's cars, washing their dishes, cooking them meals, uh, standing in soup lines, you know, like as a pauper, because I had no money when I walked around Australia. I walked around broke. And I eventually got humble. Eventually, I got to be humble again, back to where I began. And in that humility, I started to find the beauty of love.
Okay.
Because the big Vishrant couldn't find it because the big Vishrant was too damn big. His head wouldn't fit through a doorway.
Okay. Actually, that raises two questions. Is that Vishrant, the name itself, is that your name that you have accepted, or it has been given by somebody, or it was just one of those days wherein Siddhartha became Gautam Buddha?
Okay, so the name Vishrant I've had for 41 years, and it was
Mhm.
given to me by Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh.
Rajneesh, okay.
commonly
Osho.
called Osho.
Osho.
And the name was given to me because when I wrote away for my name, I mentioned that I'd like to help run the ranch in Oregon. And
Oh, okay.
and they told me to take a break. And they gave me the name Relax because Vishrant means restful or relax. Take a break, take a break. And it was Prem Vishrant, which meant restful love. And to me, that was a message on what I had to find in myself, restful love. And so the name itself was a teaching. And it was because I was so full of myself that I got this name Vishrant, which meant have a rest, buddy. Take a break. You're too much.
That's a beautiful way to get into it. So, Vishrant, this comes to our next question is that, okay, you were seeking for love, or you were seeking, as you would say, uh, your heart,
Yep.
and you came to a point wherein you had to literally get onto your knees, humble yourself,
Yep.
come down to a point wherein the big Vishrant had to get away from the shadows, and the powerful small Vishrant had to step ahead.
Yep. I had to become a nobody going nowhere.
Reminds me of Joe Dispenza. But yes, that's what we all are. We are just energy around over here.
Yep.
So you had two options. One option was be in that state of relaxed state or bliss, or you had a state wherein you could impart that joy of realizing who you are to others. How did you weigh yourself that where I should have my journey of life from here on?
I made a deal with heart, and the deal was everything for heart and nothing for me. And then
Okay.
I made a deal with truth or God, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
everything for God and nothing for me. And I've lived
Okay.
that deal now for 41 years. No,
Beautiful.
27 years, sorry, 27
27. Okay.
years. I've been serving heart and I've been serving truth.
And how is that going on for you?
Well, right now it's pretty good. I'm talking to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I was expecting some philosophical, something, a very blissful answer. But here is my next question. When you have been in the space for the last 21 plus years, wherein you are imparting a piece of your heart, a piece of your love, and we know is that the more we give away our love, the more it becomes. It just doesn't remain broken. It just keeps on growing the more we give away.
I agree.
What were the lessons? Like, of course, in 21 years, there would have been a lot of lessons. And guys, I will be putting out Vishrant's contact details down in my comments below. Have a look onto it. A word of caution. Keep some time for yourself when you're going through some of the videos because there's a lot of introspection and retrospection that you need to do. It is not just a fluff video. There's a lot of thought process that goes into these videos. Have a look onto it. So, my question over here, Vishrant, is that if you were to say around 4 to 6 different thoughts that has come to your mind when people want to feel their heart or they want to feel the love, because today love is such, no thanks to social media, people have forgotten. It's at times I say is that is it happiness or joy? People forget that happiness is when something happens, but joy is something which you discovered when you were walking barefooted across Australia.
Mm.
So what would be some of the key elements that comes to your mind that if people want to feel that love, feel that, again, if it is something which is proprietary, please feel not to answer it, but there's some particular lessons which comes to your mind around 4 or 6. What would those be?
The only thing that blocks us from the perception of love is closure or defensiveness. If we're
Mm-hmm.
wide open, we can
Okay.
perceive love everywhere. And unfortunately, most of us went to school and we learnt to close up and defend ourselves. And so most adults are defended to some degree, which cuts them off from the perception of love. And if we
Okay.
really want to experience love in a continuing way, we need to open up. We need to find a way to be open in the world rather than closed in the world. And my understanding of that is we need to accept the world as it is and learn to let things go. And if we can learn to let things go and accept the world as it is, our minds can be restful and peaceful. My name, Restful Love, comes from my ability to let everything go and from my ability to accept everything that happens, no matter what it is.
A lot of times, for a lot of people, again, it's judgmental, being just generalization. It is not easy
No.
because they have to still take care of their food, clothing, and shelter. They got to take care of their rent.
Yep.
How many people would you know would, at a drop of a hat, just wash away everything or walk away from everything just to realize there is something emptiness within themselves?
I think you'd have to have the experience of knowing what you were missing out on. If you
Hmm.
didn't know what you were missing out on, if it wasn't your direct experience, what you were actually missing, if it was just an idea, I don't think many people would do it. But once you've experienced unconditional love, you become willing to die for it. It is so beautiful.
True.
And a totality is required. Like for anything else that you do that's going to be successful, totality rules. However much we put into it is however much we succeed. And so partiality tends to be a failure. And so when I decided to go for heart, or when I decided to walk around Australia and look for my heart, I put my totality into it. I didn't give myself choices that were against openness. I gave myself a way of life that
Hmm.
would facilitate love. And it was difficult. At that stage of my life, I didn't have any children to take care of and I didn't have a partner. So it was easy for me just to walk away from everything. But I did that. I walked away and I walked around Australia barefoot for 4 years and found my heart and then decided to go back to university and train as a naturopath and psychotherapist so I could have something that I could actually help people with because my skills as a businessman weren't about helping people, they were about helping myself.
Which gets me when you said that you just walked away from everything. Um, Again, if it's not getting too personal, what happened to your partner whom you, when you were in that, when you were capsized in the boat?
Yeah.
If it is personal, then we can leave it away.
She went her own way. She got together with another guy and that was the end of that.
Well, as I believe is that everybody comes as a teacher in some way or the other, right?
Yeah, we had differences of opinions about different things. After I finished walking around Australia, I didn't feel like doing a great deal. I was more into meditating and basically helping people. And she wanted me to go out and get a job and do a 9 to 5, and I didn't want to.
Hmm.
I didn't
Okay.
feel that it was. I didn't feel it was necessary at the time. So
Okay, let's move on to from another one. When you said about let go, and when you talk about love, one of the critical pillars over there, apart from ego, is forgiveness.
yeah,
People say, I've forgiven you. But there is something also called as radical forgiveness.
Mm. I don't forgive ever. I forget.
Okay?
You see, for me to forgive you, I'd have to be a victim of you. And I refuse categorically to be a victim of anything or anyone, because to
Wonderful.
be a victim, I actually have to be blaming you for how I feel. And I know that I make myself feel, that nobody can make me feel but me. And so I won't support victim orientated thinking inside myself ever, because I don't want to volunteer to be a victim. Bad stuff can happen, such as life, but
True.
I don't have to be a victim of it. I can just see it as what is rather than me being a victim of it. And so I don't forgive people. I just forget. You do the wrong thing by me and I'll forget. I won't
Okay.
hold I won't hold on to it, in other words. I'll just let it
Okay.
go.
Okay. And what happens to that human who has done that mistake or done that grievous fault or error? Do you accept him or her as another beautiful human in your life?
Everybody is a beautiful human. I love everybody. Love is in
Okay.
my heart. Love is in my mind. I love you. I do. I love you to bits. I love everybody, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't help
Hmm.
myself. It's just because love is actually everywhere.
Actually, that the one where they had a talk with one or another enlightened, beautiful human, and he said he mentioned the same thing, like there's no good, bad, and ugly. Everybody is good. Everybody
Mm.
is good. It's how you look at it. And I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because somebody may be having their own challenges, but to the people whom they are close to, people whom they love, they're always a part of them, which is amazing.
Well,
So,
there's another side to that too, that we don't program ourselves. Our society does, our parents do, our
mhm.
government does, our religion programs us. So when I see someone who's fallen and they're doing the wrong thing, I say, but for the grace of God goes I, because I could have been programmed just like that person.
True, true. Actually, that reminds me. In fact, I'm just going through. There is this old book. In fact, I'm doing the audio recording of that. Is Nisarg Raj Datta Maharaj, wherein the book he has got is "I Am That," wherein he says it's all about the body. The moment you separate the body and the I, that's when you realize how amazing you are. And it's quite a revelation, but again, different strokes for different folks. A question which comes up over here is that in this current world where there has been so much of upheaval, so many struggles, whether it is wars, whether it is through discrimination, whether it is abuse of mother nature, if you have to put out a suggestion to the listeners, what would those be?
Find openness in your heart and love everybody, no matter what they've done,
Hmm.
because it's the only thing that is going to change the world. Consciousness and love. Become conscious enough to be able to see it all and be conscious enough to love it all. Love is the key to the saving of the planet, the saving of mankind. So I
Saving
teach
yourself
love.
first.
I teach love. I teach the way of the heart, because I don't see any out of the way that's going to work.
And just be mindful of the time. What would be two or three steps that, of course, people say that I love, and they wait for February 14th for Valentine's Day to show their love. But
Okay.
but if I ask you, is that if there have been two or three steps for a person to realize that the love that they are, because everybody's got that attribute, that emotion, it's a love. But how do they get it out? If it is just in simple few steps, what would those be?
Start seeing the people that annoy you as your teachers, because if they annoy you, it means you're closing towards them, and closure is against love. And so these people that annoy you and you close up when you're around them, they're actually your teachers. Rather than avoiding them, see them as your teachers and practice openness. Practice undoing whatever belief system came into play that actually created the annoyance in you. Practice openness, because in openness, we find love. In openness, we find heart. It's all about openness.
Wonderful. And once you open up, you will know what love is, you know what heart is. So,
Mm.
guys, Vishrant had to walk for 4 years to search. Here we have got a great mistake down from Australia who has realized the elements of how to invoke or to realize by your own self that you are love. You
Mm.
can make it possible. So, guys, again, what we have got this conversation has been just a minute grain in the vast ocean of Vishrant's information and knowledge. Do reach out to him. Find out if you're seeking for something. He could give you the answer. Or maybe he could direct you to some people who could give you the answer. So, Vishrant, with this, I would say thank you so very much for your space and time. I would stop the recording.
Love you, Thomas.
Love you too, sir.